All right. So let's continue with this. So what upside down notes are is that they're actually no different than notes that aren't upside down. But you wouldn't know that unless someone told you. So let's write this out. Here's your treble clef. Right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? The light of death. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The way that upside down notes work, okay, is that you always want the notes to be as condensed in the clef as possible. So if the note head is higher, here's your middle line right here, B. Okay, there's your middle line. If the note's higher than this middle line, the stem points down. If the note is lower than the middle line, then the stem points up. And the reason being is because imagine if you're playing or writing a piece of music or whatever, and let's say you have 5 lines, and let's say here's the notes that you have. No, let's erase this and go up here. Okay, if you didn't follow by any rules, imagine if your piece of music looked like this. You know, it's all over the place. I would never want to read that, ever. So now, let's fix this and write it the way that it's supposed to be written. So let's put all the stems that are supposed to be pointed up, up, and the stems that are supposed to be pointed down, down. And by the way, it makes no difference whether a stem is up or down. It's just so that it's easier to read. So this goes down. The reason why this is down is because here's my middle line right here. There's my middle line. The note head is higher than the middle line. Here's a G. Let's point that up. Let's point this down. Point this up. This note right here, let's point that up. Now this B right here is in the middle of the staff. Does it point up or down? It doesn't matter. I usually point it down, but I'll point this one up for fun. Okay? So this, to me, and to a lot of people, is actually a lot more legible. Let me move this up. Is actually a lot more legible than if you had it the other way. Okay? So, are there any other questions of why you point that up and why you point some notes down? Okay? Now, obviously, if you have a whole note, there is no stem, so you wouldn't have to worry about that. Now, there is one thing that I want to make as easy as possible for you students to understand is let's take this and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say we have a high note here and a low note here, and they're eighth notes. Okay? Does the eighth note, is it supposed to look like that? Or is it supposed to look like, this? How's it supposed to look? Well, wait, let's see what people are writing. What's the difference between a treble clef and a bass clef? Awesome question. I'll get to that in a minute. Bass clef is lower. That's true. But there's an actual reason why, or like the actual notes between alto clef, treble clef, and bass clef, why those notes work. The way that it works, though, let's say that this note's higher, is that you would look at the distance from this middle line. And this line here is, this dot is this far away from the middle line. This one's a little bit longer. So you would actually have this one pointing down. And the reason is because this A is higher. This is a ledger line. And this is not in a ledger line. If this were a ledger line, then it'd be different. But that's how you would write it down. I've actually seen things written out like this, too, a lot of times. Let's say that you had that. I've actually seen eighth notes written out like this. I have seen this. I get really, really, really confused, though, when I see eighth notes written out like that. So, yeah, and it looks really weird. It looks really, really weird. Now, granted, I'm also handwriting this, so it's different. But I would much rather see it written like this. And sometimes it might be so far up and so far down that you might just see it written out like this. You know, I've seen this before too. When the person who wrote the music just says, you know what, I'm not even going to worry about connecting it. I'm just going to make them two separate eighth notes. And that's the same as if you were to actually make them eighth notes like this. Okay? So are there any questions about that? If not, then I will stop. Is classical playing on guitar in standard tuning? It depends what song you're learning. Most songs, at least the ones that I've learned, are yes in standard tuning. The ones that I've learned. Okay, so I'm going to stop this. Stop recording.